Hello everybody, my name is Happy and I'd like to welcome you to my history reaction channel. Today we'll be taking a look at part 4 of Oversimplified's Miniwars series. This one will be the Emu War, which is the only one of the 4 that I have seen previously. And it is such a great video, I can't wait to share it with the rest of you. So as always, I will put a link to the original video down in the description below. If you're one of the handful of people who have not already subscribed to Oversimplified, I highly encourage you to head over to his channel, check out some of his videos, and show him some support. We want to encourage this guy to keep making wonderful videos like this one. With that said, like I said, I've seen this one before. I'm going to try to add some context. Not sure how much I can add. This is just a fun story. And let's just get into this and see what we can do with it. Here we go.
This is Australia. For the man who imagines being strangled by a tarantula while a kangaroo breaks his kneecaps and thinks, yes, please.
Yeah, Australia, famous for its rather hazardous flora and fauna.
For the man who pictures himself being eaten by a snake in the burning outback while eating a Vegemite sandwich and thinks, yes, please. And that man was Governor Arthur Phillip, who landed in eastern Australia in 1788, presumably saw a dingo being eaten by a crocodile, being eaten by a death adder, being eaten by a koala, being eaten by Mel Gibson, and thought to himself,
oh, that's disgusting.
Yes, good.
Yeah, that's pretty much the Australian character in a nutshell. Or at least that's the stereotype.
Now I know what you're thinking. But oversimplified, the British didn't discover Australia, the Vikings did. And you'd be wrong. I'm not sure why you'd think that. But hey,
because they discovered everything else?
Hey, if you love Vikings so much, then why don't you check out today's sponsor?
Okay.
Vikings War of Clans was inspired by the PC strategy and RPG games of the 90s we all love, like Age of Empires.
Since this is a very old video, 5 or 6 years, we're going to go ahead and skip the ad. I don't normally do that unless the video is an older one, but his links and everything are no longer going to apply, so let's just move right along.
Bonus of 200 gold coins and a protective shield.
Here we go.
Buy! Man, this is great. The market will continue to grow forever. But what if it doesn't? Oh crap, I never thought of that. Sell! And the stock market crashed, which led to economic downturn, which meant banks wouldn't lend anyone any money, which led...
So we're going into the Great Depression, and even though it hit Wall Street first, it was very much a global crisis because all the economies at this time were interlinked.
To more economic downturn, which meant everyone stopped buying stuff, which led to more economic downturn. And hey, what if all the crops in the Great Plains were destroyed in a drought and then a big dust storm engulfed the area? That's right, more economic downturn.
Yeah, so that's the Dust Bowl, and that definitely doesn't help the situation. For those not familiar with the Dust Bowl, Great Plains region primarily was affected. It was a combination of drought, strong windstorms, and years of very poor agricultural practices that were stripping the land and making it ideal for what eventually happened. These massive dust storms that roll across the Great Plains and pretty much cripple the Great Plain agricultural sector.
And in an effort to combat the crisis, America began imposing tariffs on foreign imports, which made the economic downturn go global, and the earth got really depressed. But one nation that was hit harder than most by the whole affair, Australia. The problem for Australia was that it relied heavily on its export industries, and in the current economic climate, no one was buying. To make things worse, Australia had introduced its own currency and pegged it onto the gold standard via the British pound. But then the UK started messing with its own peg on the gold standard, and if this is starting to sound confusing, then let me oversimplify it for you. Hey UK, looks like my car's broken down. Want to give me a tow? No problem, friend. I got you.
That's a pretty accurate oversimplification. Their economies were linked, so when one goes over the cliff, the other goes right over with them.
More economic downturn. The point I'm trying to make is things weren't good, and in particular, it was Australia's farmers that were suffering most. After the First World War, Australia had given...
Same thing here in the United States. The farmers got hit really hard because of the Dust Bowl. There was massive waves of migration out of the Great Plains region,
turning veterans' land for farming. But with the current economic crisis, the farmers just weren't making enough money, and many left to go find work in the cities. But for those who remained, things were about to get even worse.
Ho ho ho!
Before we get into that, it's time for some cultural exchange. My national bird is the bald eagle. It's a strong patriotic symbol of America and a deeply valued and protected species. My national bird is the peafowl. It's a beautiful creature whose vivid colors represent India, so we list it as a protected species. My national bird is the emu, and it's a pest, also bloody delicious. Emu.
Yeah, it's a pretty good symbol for Australia, though. The land of Everything wants to kill you. Again, stereotypical, I know. No offense to my Australian friends out there. We love you. We also love to make fun of your stereotypes, just as everybody likes to make fun of our stereotypes. And all stereotypes, for that matter.
6 feet tall, 90 to 120 pounds, and able to run at speeds up to 40 miles per hour, usually return to the coast after their breeding season. But suddenly they found Western Australia full of lush, wet farmland. Oh my, look at all this delicious wheat that just so happens to be growing here in large quantities. Hey
I mentioned this in another video, but something similar to this happened in the United States during the Dust Bowl. But in our case, it was jackrabbits. And while they're not as big and dangerous as the emus are, we're talking about groups of jackrabbits that got up into the tens of thousands in size. They were basically, I don't know what you would call a big group of jackrabbits. I mean, it's much bigger than something like a clutch. We're talking like a flock of jackrabbits, a massive herd of them, tens of thousands sweeping through farmlands.
guys, get a load of this. You know, look at all this. Hey, who left this big hole in it? Guys, get a load of this. Oh, wow. What a lovely morning for some farming. What? Those damn emus, they have it in for me. The bullies, they're nothing but bullies. Calm down, Bruce. They're just animals. It's not personal. Hey, Farmer Bruce, where did you find that hat? The toilet?
He just made it personal.
Yes. 20,000 emus cost the already struggling farmers millions more pounds in lost crops and damages. The situation couldn't continue like this. Something had to be done. So in 1932, the farmers turned to the government for help. You'd think they'd go to the Minister of Agriculture, but these farmers said no. This is a job for the military. So they went to George Pierce, the Minister of Defense. That's right. Australia was to go to war with the emus. But not everyone was happy with the idea. This is barbaric. We can't go slaughtering thousands of our own national bird. Oh, come on, guys. The machine guns will make it quick and painless. Machine guns? You're using machine guns? This is animal cruelty. Look, I know it's unusual, but it's not like we're poachers turning the birds into feather hats. Think of the benefits. It'll be good target practice for our boys. The government can show it took action. Plus, I can get myself a nice new feather hat. Did I say feather hat? I meant I want to together chat with you about getting you all some nice new feather hats. Did I say feather hats? I meant I want to wage terror at these emus and turn them all into feather hats. Damn it! Of course, Pierce first made the farmers sign an agreement saying that they would pay for the whole thing and that Pierce wouldn't take any of the blame if the operation, that was clearly very stupid, turned out to indeed be stupid. And the operation went ahead. Major G.P.W. Meredith and his men were sent with 2 Lewis machine guns to hunt down and take out the evil emu population in Western Australia. Target spotted. Well, was it an emu? No, sir. It's an emo. Damn it, Jones, learn your vowels. I'm sorry. Okay, it looks like the humans are coming for us. But check this out. I've come up with an amazing plan. See if you can follow me here, okay? When they approach, we run away. Sir, you're a genius. Pierce.
Laugh all you want. That's a pretty valid military tactic sometimes. The Russians use it in the face of Napoleon. They just keep falling back before his army, dragging him further and further in, until he's overextended. They use that a lot in the Napoleonic era, in fact. Draw him away, separate him from his supply line, separate him from his reinforcements. Pretty common tactic, and it works.
Sent a camera crew along with the machine gunners to capture some good old propaganda for the government, and the first battle took place in November at Campion. The men spotted a mob of emus from a distance, so they set up their guns and opened fire. The emus split up into smaller groups and ran in every direction. The men were only able to kill what they called a number of birds, but the vast majority got away.
Yeah, emus can move. They can move very quickly.
Cut! Surprisingly, many of the emus were able to take multiple bullets, but still run at full speed to safety, causing Meredith to compare them to tanks, saying if we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world.
Make a note of that. Look into it.
Okay, we need to get closer. No, you idiots, not to me, to the emus. Oh, sorry. No, I like it. So next, they tried sneaking up on a large number of emus near a local dam and firing at short range. Maybe the men were just unlucky, but my professional opinion says the emus were magic, because both guns jammed after just 12 emus were killed, and once again, the rest got away. Cut! The men were feeling a little humiliated after losing to a pack of discount ostriches, so they decided to move further
Ow. Come on, the emus aren't discount ostriches, they're just different.
south, where the emus were said to be tamer. And this time, they had a new strategy. Okay, Jones, here's the plan. You mount the machine gun in the back, I'll chase the emus, you shoot. Got it? Got it.
About as well as you might expect.
I'm gonna shove that camera up your... The operation was a fiasco, and the press had a field day. In Parliament, Pierce was lambasted, and an opposition party member suggested that medals should be handed out to the emus, who had won every round so far. Pierce, feeling quite humiliated, pulled the operation off. But 4 days later, the farmers approached again and said, "Hey man, the emus are still eating all our crops. Can you send the army back out here?" And Pierce was like, "Yeah, okay." So the operation was back on for round 2. And this time Meredith and his men had learned the emus' guerrilla tactics and were much more successful, with reports suggesting the men were cutting down 300 emus every week. I hope you boys are getting great footage of this. What on earth are you filming? Despite the success, the media had lost interest in the whole thing. But with 1,000 emus killed, Pierce finally ended the operation and returned to Parliament declaring victory for the humans. So there were 20,000 emus out there destroying crops, and you've killed 1,000. Meaning there's still 19,000 emus out there. Yep. And in addition, you've burned through 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Meaning you wasted 10 rounds per confirmed kill. That's right. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call this one for the emus. At least I got a feather hat. What? So in the end, the emus won the Great Emu War of 1932, and the emus continued to wreak havoc on the farmers for years to come. The government introduced a bounty system, which saw some success. But for a moment, let's take some time to remember the brave men who said goodbye to their families and risked their lives to take on the great, evil emu population in Western Australia. But even more importantly, let's think of the friends they made, the bond they created, and the memories they shared. Guys, I solved the emu crisis. Really? How? I just made some better fences.
Yep. Crazy stuff. And yeah, like I said, America, we had jackrabbit roundups for the same reason. They were wiping out farmers during the Great Depression. What the jackrabbits lacked in size and mobility, they made up for in numbers. But yeah, the Emu War is great fun. Australia, we love you guys, but your birds, you need to get control of your birds and everything else, but especially the birds. Yeah, I guess that's good enough for now. Thank you for joining. I wish I could have added more, but how do you really add to this? He pretty much covered everything. Great little war. Great fun. See you next time. Bye-bye.